Why living near your children in old age could be the biggest mistake of your life. Stoicism. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. This timeless wisdom from Marcus Aurelius captures the essence of today's discussion. Welcome back to Stoic in Your Life, where we uncover ancient insights to navigate the complexities of our modern world. Have you ever considered that moving closer to your children in your golden years might not be the wisest choice for your well-being and independence? Today we'll explore why this seemingly loving decision could actually be the biggest mistake of your life through the lens of Stoic philosophy. We'll examine the importance of maintaining your personal space, cultivating inner strength, and fostering emotional self-sufficiency, even in the later stages of life. In a world that often equates proximity with care, how can we redefine these relationships to preserve our autonomy and self-respect? If you're navigating the delicate balance between family ties and personal freedom, or if you're curious about how Stoicism can guide you toward a more empowered life, this video is for you. We encourage you to share your views and personal stories in the comments below. Do you believe that living near family in old age enhances your happiness, or could it lead to unintended dependency? Let's dive deep into this conversation and uncover how to live with wisdom and true contentment. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and let's journey together through the timeless teachings of the Stoics. 1. The illusion of attachment and the wisdom of letting go. Today we tackle a topic that might surprise you: why living near your children in old age could be the biggest mistake of your life. It's a common notion, isn't it? As we grow older, many of us feel a deep-seated desire to be closer to our children, seeking comfort, security, and the warmth of their presence as we face the uncertainties of aging. But what if this seemingly natural inclination is, in fact, a misunderstanding of what truly brings peace and fulfillment in our twilight years? Stoicism, particularly through the teachings of Marcus Aurelius, presents a counterintuitive but profoundly liberating perspective: that the attachments we form, especially in old age, often spring from a misguided perception of control and permanence. Aurelius reminds us that life is ever-changing, and clinging to any form of external stability, be it our children, our homes, or our past routines, can lead to suffering when those external elements inevitably change. By moving closer to our children, we might unconsciously place upon them an expectation that they cannot fulfill. After all, our children have their own lives, their own responsibilities, and their own journeys. Our presence, intended as a source of comfort, could inadvertently become a burden, leading to stress, tension, or even resentment. Consider the wisdom of letting go, not as an abandonment of our loved ones, but as a conscious choice to live in harmony with the natural flow of life. As Epictetus once said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." True wisdom, especially in old age, is found in embracing our independence, fostering our inner tranquility, and cultivating self-reliance. When we detach from the notion that our happiness is tied to being physically near our children, we open ourselves to a deeper, more meaningful form of connection that is not dependent on proximity, but on mutual respect and understanding. Moreover, by nurturing our ability to enjoy our own company and appreciate the natural course of life, we can prevent the erosion of relationships caused by unrealistic expectations and demands. When we let go of the illusion that being close to our children will solve all our problems or provide us with endless happiness, we gain the freedom to build a life that is rich in its own right, a life that does not lean heavily on others, but stands firmly on its own. This sense of inner freedom and self-sufficiency allows us to approach our relationships with our children from a place of love rather than need, fostering connections that are genuinely enriching for all involved. In the modern context where lives are increasingly busy and geographically dispersed, expecting constant proximity can lead to disappointment and emotional strain for both parents and children. It is not uncommon to see how such expectations can create a cycle of dependency, that limits both parties from pursuing their own paths. Instead, we can take inspiration from the Stoics and practice detachment, not in a cold, unfeeling way, but as a form of love that respects the autonomy and individuality of both ourselves and our loved ones. By learning to let go, we give our children the space to live their own lives fully, while also allowing ourselves the freedom to explore new interests, form new relationships, and continue to grow in ways we might never have imagined. Seneca wisely noted, "He is most powerful who has power over himself." In this light, the greatest gift we can offer to ourselves and our children is the strength of our own independence, the ability to face our later years with grace, courage, and a sense of purpose that is not reliant on others. By doing so, we model resilience and wisdom, showing that true contentment comes not from clinging to the familiar, but from embracing the unknown with a spirit of adventure and curiosity. So, as you reflect on your own life and the choices that lie ahead, consider the Stoic approach to aging. Instead of moving closer to your children out of fear or a sense of obligation, cultivate a life that is full, vibrant, and fulfilling on your own terms. Find joy in your own company, seek out new experiences, and maintain your emotional independence. This does not mean distancing yourself emotionally from your loved ones, but rather creating a foundation of inner peace and strength from which all your relationships can flourish. Let us take this opportunity to rethink the traditional views of aging and family dynamics. By embracing the wisdom of the Stoics, we can learn to live with greater freedom, deeper joy, and more meaningful connections. 2. The burden of expectation. How living close can strain relationships. Living close to your children in old age might seem like a comforting, even logical choice, but it can bring about a heavy burden of expectations that might strain your relationships more than strengthen them. These expectations can sneak up on you, taking the form of hopes for regular visits, constant help, or unwavering emotional support. While these desires may come from a place of love and familiarity, they often carry with them a hidden weight, one that Stoicism warns us about. Marcus Aurelius, one of Stoicism's great thinkers, reminds us that you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This philosophy teaches us that expectations, especially those placed on others, are a fertile ground for disappointment and suffering. When we move closer to our children and unconsciously expect them to alter their lives to accommodate us, we set ourselves up for potential heartache and place an unnecessary strain on our relationship with them. Think about a modern story that is all too common today. A retired couple decides to move closer to their adult children, hoping for more time together, more help around the house, and perhaps a deeper connection. At first, everything seems perfect. The visits are frequent, the support is ample, and the joy of being near each other feels comforting. But soon those visits start to feel less like joyous reunions and more like obligations. The children, balancing careers, raising their own families, and managing their own stresses, begin to feel the unspoken pressure of constant availability. What was once an act of love now starts to feel like a duty, and that sense of duty, left unchecked, can breed resentment. The parents, on the other hand, might begin to feel neglected or unappreciated if their expectations aren't met, even though those expectations were never openly communicated. This silent cycle of unmet desires and unspoken burdens begins to eat away at the very fabric of their once strong bond. Stoicism encourages us to approach these situations with a different mindset, one of equanimity and acceptance. Instead of clinging to what we think should happen, like expecting our children to always be there or to constantly provide support, we are advised to let go of these external expectations and instead focus on what we can control: our reactions, our emotions, and our choices. As Epictetus famously said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." By managing our expectations and fostering a sense of independence, we not only spare ourselves from unnecessary disappointment, but also create a healthier, more genuine connection with our children. The key lies in recognizing that our children have their own lives, filled with their own responsibilities and stresses, and they too deserve the space to navigate their journeys without the added weight of our silent demands. Think about it. What if, instead of expecting our children to constantly cater to us because we live nearby, we embraced the moments we do share with them, no matter how infrequent? What if we cherished those spontaneous visits or the occasional phone call without expecting more? By letting go of the idea that proximity should naturally lead to more frequent interactions, we open ourselves to a more authentic relationship, one that is based on mutual respect and genuine affection rather than obligation. When we release our grip on what we think should be, we allow ourselves to truly appreciate what is. We find joy in the unscheduled moments of connection, in the laughter that isn't forced, and in the company that feels free rather than mandatory. Ask yourself this: are your expectations enhancing your relationship with your children, or are they creating a silent script that dictates how things should be? Are you inadvertently turning your presence into a source of pressure rather than a source of comfort? These are tough questions, but they are essential for cultivating a more harmonious and fulfilling relationship with those you love. The Stoic way teaches us to be mindful of our thoughts and desires, to keep our focus on what we can control, and to accept the rest with grace and humility. The lesson here is clear and compelling. To build stronger, healthier relationships with our children as we age, we must first examine our own expectations and motivations. We must ask ourselves whether we are placing undue pressure on them by living nearby, or if we are fostering a bond that respects both their freedom and ours. By practicing emotional independence and learning to manage our expectations, we not only free our children from the burden of feeling like they have to fulfill every need, but also free ourselves from the cycle of anticipation and disappointment. In doing so, we create a space where love can thrive without the weight of obligation, where interactions are meaningful and genuine, and where both parties can feel truly respected and appreciated. So, the next time you think about moving closer to your children, or feel that familiar pang of disappointment when a visit doesn't happen as often as you'd like, remember the wisdom of the Stoics. Consider what expectations you might be holding on to, and whether they serve to enhance or hinder your happiness and the happiness of your loved ones. And as you reflect on this, remember, true strength lies in understanding what we can control and having the courage to let go of the rest. 3. Emotional independence, a Stoic perspective on self-reliance. Emotional independence is a vital aspect of living a fulfilled life, especially as we grow older, and this perspective is strongly supported by Stoic philosophy. From the Stoic point of view, being self-reliant and developing inner strength is not just about surviving life's challenges but thriving despite them. As Marcus Aurelius wisely noted, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This idea encourages us to look within ourselves for peace and contentment rather than relying heavily on others, including our children. When we make the choice to live close to our children in our later years, we might unintentionally risk compromising our emotional independence. This proximity can sometimes lead to an over-reliance on our children for companionship, comfort, or even routine support, which, while well-intentioned, can create an unseen imbalance in the relationship. The child may feel a quiet but constant pressure to fulfill roles that might not align with their own aspirations, plans, or emotional resources. Have you ever considered how this dynamic might affect not just your life but theirs as well? Stoicism teaches us the value of finding contentment within ourselves, urging us to cultivate our inner resources instead of looking outward for fulfillment. Imagine building a life in your later years where your happiness doesn't hinge on how often your children visit or call, but rather on the rich world you have created for yourself. This could mean developing new hobbies, nurturing friendships that offer fresh perspectives, or engaging in deep self-reflection that brings clarity and peace. Think about it. By focusing on what you can control, such as your own reactions and mindset, you create a reservoir of inner strength that isn't dependent on external circumstances or the physical presence of loved ones. This doesn't mean we should isolate ourselves or cut ties with family. Quite the opposite. It means fostering a type of independence that allows for healthier, more balanced relationships. When we're emotionally independent, our interactions with our children can come from a place of genuine affection and mutual respect, rather than need or obligation. Consider this. Wouldn't a relationship built on freedom and choice be more rewarding than one shadowed by unspoken expectations or silent burdens? If you're constantly seeking your child's presence to fill an emotional void, you might unknowingly place them in a position where they feel they must always be available, which can lead to strain, resentment, and even guilt. But if you're able to find joy and fulfillment in your own endeavors, you create an atmosphere where your children are free to live their lives fully, while still being connected to you in a meaningful, loving way. Epictetus reminds us, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This is the essence of emotional independence. It's about finding your own strength and learning to navigate life with a sense of peace and acceptance, regardless of external factors. By embracing this Stoic wisdom, you allow your relationship with your children to flourish naturally. Think about the joy of engaging in conversations that are not overshadowed by unmet expectations or the strain of obligation but are filled with genuine interest and shared experiences. When you are emotionally self-reliant, you become a source of inspiration, not a drain. You show your children, and perhaps even your grandchildren, that life doesn't end with retirement. It can begin anew with opportunities for growth, learning, and joy. Doesn't that sound like a legacy worth leaving? Moreover, by fostering emotional independence, you set an example of resilience and inner strength. You demonstrate that aging doesn't have to mean becoming more dependent or needy, but rather can be a time of personal growth and self-discovery. This approach not only enriches your own life, but also takes pressure off your children, allowing them to see you as a role model of how to age with grace and dignity. Wouldn't you want them to feel proud of the way you're handling this stage of your life, rather than feeling like they need to manage your happiness? The Stoics encourage us to live in harmony with the natural flow of life, and part of this wisdom lies in recognizing that every stage of life brings its own set of opportunities and challenges. As we age, the opportunity is in learning to rely more on our internal resources rather than on external validation or support. Thank you for joining us in today's video. Before we move on to the next segment, I'd like to take a moment to express my gratitude to you. It's a pleasure to have you as a member of our community. Please feel free to share your story or personal impressions. Alternatively, if you're unsure of what to say, simply leave a comment saying, "I am a newbie," if you've just joined us, or "I am Stoic," if you've been with us for a while. Your engagement not only signifies your presence, but also serves as a significant motivation for us. All right, let's continue this journey together, shall we? 4. The risk of stagnation, keeping life dynamic in old age. Are you embracing life's full potential, or are you settling into comfort that leads to stagnation? This is a question that takes on new significance as we enter our later years, especially when considering the choice to live near our children. On the surface, moving closer to family in old age might seem like a natural decision, an easy way to ensure companionship and support. However, this choice carries the often overlooked risk of our lives becoming stagnant. When surrounded by what is familiar and predictable, it's all too easy to fall into routines that, while comfortable, provide little room for growth or new experiences. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic philosopher-emperor, reminds us that the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. In other words, life is not meant to be lived within the confines of comfort. It is meant to be lived fully, embracing change, challenges, and the unknown. By choosing comfort over challenge, we may unknowingly risk becoming mentally and emotionally stagnant. Think about it. Have you ever found yourself doing the same things day in and day out, not because they bring you great joy or fulfillment, but because they are simply what you know? Stoicism teaches us the importance of resilience and adaptability. qualities that remain crucial regardless of age. As Seneca once said, as long as you live, keep learning how to live. This mindset urges us to remain open to new experiences and learning opportunities, even as we grow older. The truth is, when we prioritize being near our children over our own personal growth and exploration, we may inadvertently close ourselves off from opportunities that could bring new joy and meaning into our lives. Consider the modern reality. Many people in their later years find themselves stuck in a daily loop, caring for grandchildren, engaging in the same social activities, visiting the same places. While these routines provide a sense of stability, they can also prevent us from engaging with life more dynamically. What if instead we chose to break out of these routines? What if we took up a new hobby, traveled to places we've never been, volunteered in a way that stretched our skills, or learned something completely outside our comfort zone? By doing so, we inject vitality and freshness into our lives, keeping our minds sharp and our spirits high. Think about it. How might your life change if you decided to take a different path, to seek out what is unknown rather than stick with what is familiar? Stoic philosophy encourages us to see each stage of life as an opportunity for growth. It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that things are difficult, said Seneca. This perspective suggests that by daring to step outside our comfort zones, especially in our later years, we can make life not just bearable, but truly vibrant and exciting. Living dynamically also makes us more engaging companions to our children and grandchildren. Instead of becoming predictable figures in their lives, we become sources of inspiration, individuals who show by example that life doesn't end at retirement. It continues to evolve. When we embrace new challenges, we model a form of aging that is active, curious, and continually self-renewing. This not only enriches our own lives but also fosters a relationship with our children that is based on shared growth and exploration rather than routine and predictability. The Stoics believed in the power of perspective. They taught that we should not fear what life throws at us, but rather see it as an opportunity to exercise our virtues, courage, wisdom, temperance, and justice. So, as you consider the years ahead, ask yourself, are you allowing your life to become stagnant, or are you willing to embrace the unknown? Are you content with the familiar, or do you long for a life that is dynamic and full of possibility? This isn't just about where you live, it's about how you live. It's about making choices that keep your spirit engaged and your mind open. The key lesson here is to resist the allure of comfort and familiarity. While it might seem easier to settle into a life that feels safe and predictable, doing so can often lead to a quiet dissatisfaction, a feeling that something is missing. Instead, we should strive to keep our lives dynamic and varied, actively seeking out new experiences that challenge us and bring us joy. Whether through travel, volunteering, learning new skills, or even just engaging more deeply with the world around us, we can ensure that our later years are not marked by decline, but by continued growth and enrichment. This mindset not only enriches our own lives, but also allows us to be more engaging and inspiring companions to our children, fostering a relationship built on shared growth and exploration, rather than routine and predictability. By embracing the possibilities that lie outside of our immediate surroundings, we open ourselves to a life that is truly lived to the fullest. So, I ask you, what will you choose for your future? Comfort, or the rich tapestry of a life fully embraced? 5. The danger of losing autonomy, preserving your freedom. Living near your children as you grow older might seem like a comforting choice, but it can also pose a significant risk to your sense of autonomy. It's a subtle shift that happens over time, where the lines between care and control can blur, often without anyone even realizing it. You see, as we age, our children often feel a deep, genuine desire to help and protect us, which is only natural. But this well-meaning support can sometimes start to erode our independence. Marcus Aurelius, a revered Stoic philosopher, might remind us here that true contentment and fulfillment come from within us, not from relying on others or external circumstances. He once said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts," urging us to remember that our happiness and sense of self should not be dependent on what others do or do not do for us. The Stoic teaching of focusing on what is within our control, our thoughts, our choices, our actions, is especially relevant as we consider how to navigate the later years of our lives. By maintaining a certain level of physical and emotional distance, we can preserve our autonomy and ensure that our decisions remain our own, free from any undue influence of our children's concerns or preferences. Think about it. How would you feel if every decision about your life was subtly influenced by the desires or fears of someone else? It might start small, with suggestions about what you should eat, how you should spend your day, or even where you should go for medical care. Over time, these suggestions can turn into expectations, and before you know it, you might feel as if your life is no longer your own. While accepting help when needed is important, and sometimes essential, it's equally crucial to make sure that your life remains under your own guidance. You should be the one making choices about what is best for your well-being, keeping you active, engaged, and mentally sharp. A good story that illustrates this is of a woman named Joan, who moved closer to her daughter after retiring. Initially, Joan enjoyed being near her grandchildren and the sense of community, but over time, she noticed that her daughter started making decisions for her, choosing her doctors, arranging her days, even deciding what Joan should and shouldn't eat. Joan began to feel like she was losing her sense of self, her freedom to choose how to live her life. Eventually, Joan realized she needed to reclaim her autonomy, and with gentle but firm conversations, she re-established her boundaries, ensuring her life remained her own to navigate. This story of Joan brings up an important question for us all. How can we accept support without losing our independence? It's a delicate balance, but one that is vital for maintaining a fulfilling life. Autonomy in old age is not just about making big decisions. It's about the small, everyday choices that make up the fabric of our lives. It's about deciding what we want to do with our time, who we want to spend it with, and how we wish to live out our days. These choices keep us feeling vibrant, alive, and engaged with the world around us. They also keep our minds sharp and our spirits high. Remember the wisdom of Seneca, who said, "As long as you live, keep learning how to live." This isn't just about acquiring new knowledge, but about continually practicing how to live well no matter our age. So, what does this mean for you? It means that preserving your freedom, your ability to make your own choices, is essential for your happiness and well-being. It doesn't mean rejecting help outright, but rather finding that balance where you can accept support without giving up control over your own life. By safeguarding your autonomy, you maintain not only your dignity, but also cultivate a relationship with your children that is respectful and mutually supportive. This approach prevents the unintended consequences of over-involvement, where good intentions might lead to an erosion of your sense of self. Consider this. How can you engage with your children in a way that allows for both closeness and independence? How can you communicate your needs and desires clearly without creating unnecessary friction or misunderstandings? The lesson here is simple yet profound. By prioritizing your freedom, you ensure that your relationship with your children is not one of dependency or obligation, but one that is built on mutual respect and understanding. This not only enhances your quality of life, but also sets a positive example for your children about how to age with grace and dignity. As you navigate this stage of life, remember that your autonomy is a precious resource, one that deserves to be protected and cherished. So, ask yourself, are you living life on your own terms, or are you allowing the comfort of proximity to dictate your choices? The answer to this question will guide you toward a more fulfilling, independent, and meaningful existence, where you can continue to grow, learn, and thrive in your own unique way. 6. The challenge of maintaining boundaries, protecting relationships. Maintaining boundaries is essential for any healthy relationship, And this becomes even more important when considering living close to your children in your later years. Have you ever thought about how being too close might blur the lines of independence and personal space? Stoicism, a philosophy that teaches the value of self-awareness and personal responsibility, emphasizes the importance of setting and respecting boundaries in all our interactions. Marcus Aurelius, one of the great Stoic philosophers, reminds us to practice moderation and self-discipline, virtues that are vital in maintaining these boundaries effectively. When we choose to live near our children, there's a risk that the natural boundaries which preserve mutual respect and understanding can start to fade. This can lead to misunderstandings, feelings of resentment, or even a sense of intrusion from both sides. For instance, what begins as an innocent request for help or company can gradually turn into unspoken expectations, and before you know it, the balance of the relationship tilts towards obligation rather than genuine affection. Consider this. When boundaries are not clearly defined or respected, both parents and children can feel overwhelmed or pressured. Children might feel the weight of constant responsibility, while parents could feel they're not receiving the emotional space or support they need. The Stoic principle of knowing what is within our control and what is not applies here. By recognizing that we can control our own actions and responses, but not those of our children, we set a foundation for healthier interactions. We must respect their need for space and independence, just as we would want our own needs and boundaries to be respected. This doesn't mean we should distance ourselves emotionally. Rather, it's about striking the right balance where both parties feel comfortable and valued. A modern story that comes to mind is that of a man named Robert, who moved closer to his daughter's family after retiring. At first, it seemed like the perfect setup. Grandchildren nearby, more family dinners, and plenty of opportunities to connect. But soon, Robert realized that his daughter began to feel obligated to check in on him daily, and he found himself overstepping by giving unsolicited advice or dropping by unannounced. This led to tension and a few uncomfortable conversations. Robert understood that he needed to reassess the boundaries in their relationship. He took steps to communicate his needs clearly, but also made sure to ask his daughter about her boundaries. This open dialogue allowed them to find a new balance, one that respected both their needs for space and connection. So, how can we protect our relationships with our children while living close by? The answer lies in maintaining clear, respectful boundaries. It's crucial to have honest conversations about expectations, to listen actively, and to practice self-restraint when needed. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This wisdom teaches us to focus on what we can control: our behaviors, our communication, and our willingness to understand and respect the needs of others. By doing so, we ensure that our relationship with our children is grounded in mutual respect and understanding, rather than feeling trapped by proximity or unspoken obligations. Think about it. What boundaries might you need to establish or re-establish to maintain a healthy, fulfilling relationship with your children? How can you ensure that both you and your children feel respected and valued without feeling overwhelmed or overstepped? These are important questions to consider, especially as we think about the dynamics of aging and family relationships. The key takeaway here is that boundaries are not about building walls. They are about creating a safe space for both you and your loved ones to thrive emotionally and mentally. By fostering open communication and practicing self-restraint, you can navigate the complexities of living near your children without compromising the integrity of your relationship. Remember, maintaining clear and respectful boundaries not only protects your emotional well-being, but also nurtures a relationship based on genuine connection and understanding, rather than one dictated by obligation or convenience. And in doing so, you set a foundation for a more fulfilling and harmonious family life. So the next time you find yourself in a situation where boundaries feel a bit blurred, ask yourself, what can I do to bring clarity and respect back into this relationship? This reflection will guide you toward a more balanced and enriching connection with your loved ones. 7. The importance of embracing solitude. Finding strength in yourself. Have you ever considered the strength that lies in solitude? In today's fast-paced world, we often overlook the power of being alone, especially as we age. But Stoicism, particularly through the teachings of Marcus Aurelius, places great value on solitude as a source of strength and wisdom. When we think about our later years, there's a natural inclination to be near our children, to fill our days with their presence, or to rely on them for social interaction. Yet Stoic philosophy invites us to look inward, suggesting that true strength does not come from external sources, but from within ourselves. As Marcus Aurelius once said, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." This profound insight reminds us that solitude is not something to be feared, but embraced. It offers us the unique opportunity to reflect, grow, and connect with our innermost selves without the distractions of daily life or the constant company of others. When we live near our children, there's a temptation to lean on them too much, to let them become our primary source of social engagement. While it is natural to enjoy their company and seek comfort in their presence, this can inadvertently hinder our ability to stand strong on our own. Embracing solitude, on the other hand, teaches us to be comfortable in our own company, fostering a sense of inner peace and self-reliance that is invaluable at any age. Think about it. How often do you take time for yourself, to sit quietly with your thoughts, to meditate on your life, your choices, and your values? This practice of self-reflection is at the heart of Stoic wisdom. It allows us to cultivate a deeper understanding of ourselves and our place in the world, to recognize our strengths, and to confront our weaknesses. In today's society where distractions are everywhere and the noise of life can be overwhelming, finding moments of solitude can seem like a challenge. But it is precisely in these moments that we discover our true selves. Consider the story of John, a retired professional who decided to move closer to his children and grandchildren. While he cherished the time spent with family, he soon realized that his days were becoming filled with their needs and schedules, leaving little room for his own pursuits. He found himself feeling lost, lacking a sense of purpose outside of his family. Recognizing this, John made a conscious effort to embrace solitude. He started dedicating time each day to walking alone, journaling, and reflecting on his own experiences and desires. This practice not only helped him regain a sense of independence, but also enriched his relationships with his family, as he could engage with them from a place of strength and completeness, rather than neediness or dependency. So, why should we value solitude, especially in our later years? Because it is through solitude that we learn to listen to ourselves, to understand our true desires and fears, and to grow in self-awareness. This self-knowledge is a powerful tool. It allows us to navigate life's challenges with grace and resilience. Seneca wisely noted, "He who is brave is free," suggesting that bravery comes not from external validation or support, but from the courage to face our own thoughts and emotions. By embracing solitude, we build this inner bravery, a kind of freedom that cannot be taken away no matter our circumstances. Moreover, solitude can significantly enhance our relationships with others, including our children. When we are comfortable being alone, we approach our loved ones from a place of completeness and self-assurance, not out of a need to fill a void. This makes our interactions more meaningful and our connections deeper because they are based on mutual respect and genuine affection rather than dependency. Have you ever noticed that those who are most at peace with themselves tend to have the most balanced and fulfilling relationships? This is not a coincidence. It's because they bring to their relationships a sense of inner stability and strength that is both attractive and inspiring. So, ask yourself, are you taking the time to cultivate solitude in your life? Are you giving yourself the space to grow and reflect? Or are you filling every moment with the company of others, perhaps to avoid facing your own thoughts? The lesson here is clear. Embrace solitude as a path to self-discovery and inner growth. Use it to build a stronger, more resilient self, one that can engage with the world and your loved ones from a place of inner strength and confidence. This doesn't mean withdrawing from those you love. It means approaching them with a fuller sense of who you are. By doing so, you not only enrich your own life, but also enhance your relationships, making them more rewarding and meaningful. So, take a step back, find your quiet space, and embrace the strength that solitude has to offer. In doing so, you will find a richer, more fulfilling path forward, both for yourself and for those you hold dear. If you've made it this far, you're truly embracing the Stoic path to independence. Drop a comment saying, "I choose my own journey," to show you're committed to living life on your own terms. Stay with us. There's so much more wisdom ahead. 8. The wisdom of detachment, loving without possessing. One of the most profound teachings of Stoicism is the concept of detachment, learning to love without feeling the need to possess or control. Marcus Aurelius often emphasized the importance of loving others with all our hearts, yet not becoming so attached to their presence or actions that our own peace and happiness depend on them. As we consider living close to our children in our later years, it's crucial to understand how this Stoic wisdom applies. While it might seem comforting to be near them, this proximity can sometimes lead to an unhealthy attachment, where love turns into a need for control or a desire for constant presence. This kind of attachment can cause unnecessary anxiety, frustration, or even resentment, especially when our children's lives don't match up with our own expectations or desires. Think about it. How often have you felt upset or let down because a loved one didn't act the way you hoped? Detachment in Stoicism doesn't mean being cold or indifferent. Rather, it is about cultivating a love that is free from demands and expectations, a love that allows others to be themselves and to make their own choices, without feeling pressured to conform to our needs. Let's consider the story of Linda, a woman in her late 60s who decided to move closer to her son's family after her husband passed away. Initially, everything seemed perfect. Linda was able to spend more time with her grandchildren, help with school pickups, and be a part of the everyday hustle and bustle of family life. But over time, she noticed that she began expecting her son and his family to include her in all their activities. When they made plans without her, she felt hurt and excluded, even though they had their own lives to lead. Linda's love for her family had unintentionally shifted from a place of joy to a place of neediness and expectation. After reflecting on this, Linda realized that her happiness was becoming too dependent on her family's choices. Inspired by Stoic teachings, she decided to practice detachment. She started focusing more on her own hobbies, volunteering, and meeting new people. This shift allowed her to enjoy her family's company without the weight of expectation. She learned to love them deeply, but without clinging to the idea that they were responsible for her happiness. This story of Linda brings us back to a key question. How can we love our children deeply without imposing our own needs and desires onto them? The answer lies in practicing the wisdom of detachment, which allows us to find fulfillment within ourselves, independent of our children's proximity or involvement in our lives. As Epictetus, another great Stoic philosopher, once said, "He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has." This perspective encourages us to appreciate our relationships as they are, without demanding more than what is freely given. By embracing this mindset, we not only strengthen the bond of love, but also honor the individuality and freedom of both ourselves and our children. Detachment, in this sense, fosters a healthier, more balanced relationship, where both parties feel respected and valued. It allows our children to live their own lives, pursue their own paths, and make their own choices without feeling the heavy burden of our expectations. At the same time, it gives us the freedom to live our lives fully, finding joy in our own experiences and endeavors. So ask yourself, are you holding on too tightly to your children? Or are you allowing them the space to grow and flourish as they need? Are you able to find joy and satisfaction within yourself? Or are you looking to others to fill the gaps? The lesson here is clear. Love deeply, but without clinging. Recognize that true love is not about holding on tightly, but about letting go and trusting that your bond can withstand distance, different life choices, and even the passing of time. This approach not only makes our relationships with our children more harmonious but also less stressful, as it is grounded in mutual respect and unconditional love. When we practice detachment, we are not stepping back from our loved ones, but rather stepping forward into a more mature and balanced way of loving, one that is generous, open, and free from the chains of expectation. This wisdom of detachment helps us cultivate a more peaceful and fulfilling life. It encourages us to look inward for our happiness and contentment rather than constantly seeking it from those around us. And in doing so, we create a space where our relationships can truly thrive, based on a foundation of mutual respect, understanding, and unconditional love. So as you think about your relationships with your children and loved ones, remember the Stoic advice: love without possessing, support without controlling, and find your strength within. By doing so, you will not only enrich your own life, but also foster a more genuine, loving connection with those you care about most. 9. The trap of overprotection, limiting your growth and theirs. Have you ever considered that living close to your children in old age might unintentionally create a cycle of overprotection, which could limit both your growth and theirs? It's natural as we age to want to be near those we love, to seek comfort and security in familiar relationships. However, being too close can sometimes lead to a dynamic where both you and your children feel a strong need to protect each other from life's inevitable challenges. While this desire to shield each other from harm may come from a place of love, it can inadvertently stifle growth and resilience. Marcus Aurelius, a great Stoic philosopher, reminds us that loss is nothing else but change, and change is nature's delight. This profound statement encourages us to see life's challenges not as something to be avoided, but as opportunities for growth and learning. When you live too close to your children, you might unknowingly fall into a role where you're constantly stepping in to shield them from difficulties, or worse, they might do the same for you. This overprotective behavior can prevent both you and your children from experiencing the struggles that build strength, wisdom, and resilience. Consider this: if your children are always there to cushion your fall, or if you're always stepping in to smooth the path for them, where is the room for growth? Both of you may miss out on the valuable lessons that come from facing life's ups and downs. Think about Mary and James, a retired couple who decided to move next door to their son, hoping to enjoy the closeness of family. Initially, it seemed perfect: more time with their grandchildren, daily family interactions, and a sense of togetherness. But soon they found themselves too deeply entwined in each other's lives. Mary and James would constantly offer to help with everything from babysitting to house chores, often stepping in even when not needed. Meanwhile, their son, out of a sense of duty and love, began managing his parents' affairs, making decisions about their daily activities, their diet, and even their health care. What started as acts of love and support soon became sources of frustration. Their son felt overwhelmed by the unspoken responsibility to always be available, while Mary and James felt their independence slipping away. This well-meaning but misguided interference deprived all of them of the chance to face their challenges and grow stronger from them. Instead of developing resilience, both parties found themselves stuck in a cycle of dependency and overprotection. So, what is the lesson here? It's clear that overprotection, whether by parents or by children, can prevent growth and lead to unhealthy dependencies. We need to recognize the importance of stepping back and allowing each person to face their own challenges. This doesn't mean withdrawing love or support. Rather, it means giving each other the space to learn, grow, and build resilience. Are you giving yourself and your children the room to experience life's trials, or are you caught in a cycle of trying to shield them, or yourself, from every discomfort? Ask yourself, how often do you step in to fix things, and how often do you let life teach its own lessons? The Stoics remind us that true growth comes from facing adversity, not avoiding it. It is through these experiences that we develop strength, courage, and wisdom. Let us learn to embrace life's difficulties as opportunities for growth, fostering a more resilient self and creating a stronger, more balanced relationship with our children. Instead of always seeking to protect or be protected, let's encourage each other to step forward into the challenges of life, to face them head-on, and to grow from them. In doing so, we not only build our own character but also create a more supportive and empowering family dynamic, one that is grounded in mutual respect and the shared pursuit of growth and self-improvement. 10. The perils of emotional dependence. Striving for balance in relationships. Living close to your children might unintentionally create an unhealthy emotional dependence, which could strain your relationship more than strengthen it. While it might seem comforting to be near your children in your later years, Stoic philosophy encourages us to reflect on the importance of emotional resilience and self-sufficiency. Marcus Aurelius, a revered Stoic thinker, once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts," reminding us that true contentment comes from within and not from external circumstances or the presence of others. When we choose to live near our children, we risk developing an over-reliance on them for emotional support, companionship, or even validation. This dependency can unintentionally place a heavy burden on them, as they may begin to feel obligated to constantly meet our emotional needs. Over time, this dynamic can lead to feelings of pressure, strain, and even resentment as children struggle to balance their own lives with the emotional demands placed upon them by their aging parents. Consider the story of George, a widower who moved closer to his daughter after losing his wife. Initially, George found solace in his daughter's presence, feeling less alone in his grief. However, as time went on, he began to lean on her too heavily, seeking her out for every emotional need and relying on her for comfort and companionship. His daughter, though loving and supportive, found herself overwhelmed by the weight of his dependence. She was already juggling her career, managing her own family, and now, unexpectedly, her father's emotional well-being became another responsibility. This new reality led to growing tension and an emotional distance that neither of them had anticipated. Realizing the strain he was placing on his daughter, George understood that he needed to find a new way to balance his emotional needs. He began to seek fulfillment beyond his daughter's presence, building new friendships, joining a local club, and rediscovering hobbies that brought him joy and satisfaction. This shift in focus allowed both George and his daughter to reconnect on healthier terms, enjoying a relationship based on mutual respect and love, rather than dependence and obligation. This story offers a valuable lesson. Emotional dependence can unintentionally burden our children and strain the relationships we hold dear. Instead of placing our emotional well-being solely in the hands of our loved ones, we should strive to maintain a sense of emotional balance by cultivating our own inner strength and finding fulfillment from diverse sources. Ask yourself, are you overly dependent on your children for emotional support, or are you taking steps to nurture your emotional health independently? As the Stoics teach us, resilience and self-sufficiency are key to living a fulfilled life. By fostering emotional independence, we not only enhance our own well-being, but also contribute to more balanced and harmonious relationships with our children. This approach helps us to love and support each other without creating unspoken obligations or pressures that can lead to frustration and resentment. So, take a moment to reflect on your own life. Are you finding joy and contentment within yourself, or are you placing that responsibility on your children? By building emotional resilience and learning to stand strong on our own, we create a foundation for healthier, more fulfilling relationships, grounded in genuine love and mutual respect. Let's embrace the wisdom of the Stoics and strive for emotional independence, recognizing that our happiness should stem from within and that our relationships should be nurtured by choice, not necessity. Thank you for being here with us in today's video. As we explored the Stoic perspective on why living near your children in old age could potentially be a mistake, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you or someone you know experienced the challenges of living too close to family in later years? How did it impact your sense of independence or the dynamics of your relationships? If you're unsure of what to share, Feel free to comment with "I'm learning" to let us know you're here and engaging with these ideas. Your participation helps us grow as a community, and your experiences can inspire others on this journey. 11. The challenge of navigating changing dynamics, adapting to new roles in family life. Have you ever considered how the dynamics of your relationship with your children evolve as you age and how living near them might impact this natural progression? At first glance, moving closer to your children might seem like a way to maintain a sense of closeness and support, but it can also complicate the natural shift in family roles that occurs over time. As we age, our roles within the family inevitably change, from being the primary caregivers and decision-makers to becoming more supportive and advisory figures. Yet, when we live too close to our children, this transition can become muddled, making it hard for both parents and children to adjust to their new roles. Stoic philosophy, particularly the teachings of Epictetus, encourages us to accept whatever comes to you woven in the pattern of your destiny for what could more aptly fit your needs. This wisdom guides us to accept the natural flow of life, including the shifts in our family dynamics. Living in close proximity to our children can sometimes hinder this acceptance, trapping us in outdated roles and expectations that no longer fit our present reality. Think about this. When you are constantly around your children, the lines between your role as a parent and their role as independent adults can become blurred. You might find yourself slipping back into old habits, offering unsolicited advice, stepping in to help with decisions, or managing their lives as if they were still young. This can lead to tension and frustration on both sides as parents struggle to let go of their traditional roles, and children feel stifled in their growth towards autonomy. Take the example of Henry and his wife, who, after retirement, decided to move closer to their son. What started as a well-meaning attempt to stay connected soon turned into a source of conflict. Henry and his wife found themselves frequently reverting to their old parental roles, offering guidance that wasn't always welcome and intervening in their son's decisions. This created frustration and a sense of suffocation for their son, who was trying to carve out his own path as an independent adult, yet still felt like a child under his parents' constant watch. Recognizing the strain this was putting on their relationship, Henry and his wife decided to take a step back, creating both physical and emotional space. They consciously shifted from being directors in their son's life to becoming more supportive figures, respecting his independence and his need to make his own choices. This change allowed their son to fully embrace his adulthood, while Henry and his wife could enjoy a more peaceful, respectful relationship with him. So, what can we learn from this? The key takeaway is that adaptability and acceptance of changing roles within the family are essential for maintaining healthy relationships. Are you clinging to an outdated role, or are you ready to embrace the natural evolution that comes with aging? It's important to reflect on whether you're holding on to the past or are open to the new dynamics that life brings. Embracing these changes with grace and understanding allows for a more balanced relationship that respects the growth and independence of both parents and children. This approach fosters an environment where each family member can thrive independently while remaining lovingly connected. As the Stoics teach, life is about accepting the natural ebb and flow of existence, adapting to new circumstances with wisdom and grace. So ask yourself, are you ready to let go of your old role and adapt to the changes that come with time, allowing both you and your children to grow into the next stage of life? By doing so, you not only honor the natural progression of life, but also create a stronger, more harmonious family dynamic where everyone feels valued and respected. As we conclude today's discussion, remember that the principles we've explored, cultivating inner strength, embracing solitude, managing expectations, maintaining boundaries, and practicing detachment, are not just ideas, but powerful tools for personal growth and happiness. Stoicism teaches us that true fulfillment comes from within, and by applying these teachings to our daily lives, we can create a more resilient, peaceful, and independent existence. So ask yourself, how can you start incorporating these Stoic principles today? How might your relationships improve if you approach them with a sense of autonomy, and inner strength. Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your experiences and insights. And if you found value in this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Stoic in Your Life for more content on how ancient wisdom can guide us in our modern world. Let's continue this journey together, learning to live with wisdom, freedom, and true contentment.